Good morning, everyone. So, in my previous video, I spoke about the hormone insulin and its role of taking blood sugar, which is also called glucose, and converting into energy for later use, and eventually becoming fats if we don't end up using that. So today I'll just go a little bit further and talk about the insulin hormone itself and how does it get created and what causes it to store the excess energy and convert into fats. So insulin is a hormone. It's made by pancreas, and it helps our body turn blood sugar into energy. So it also helps our body into like a store into our muscles, fat cells, liver, to use this energy for later use. So the way process starts is every time we eat something, regardless of what kind of food it is, when we eat something, our blood sugar, which is the glucose in our blood, rises. And when that happens, it triggers our pancreas to release the insulin to take that sugar out of bloodstream. So this insulin travels through the bloodstream and basically goes to our cells in our body and tell these cells to open up and take this glucose in. And once this glucose is in our cells, these cells convert that glucose into energy and to store it right away and also to use it for our day-to-day activities. So this is the process every time we eat something, regardless of what kind of food we eat. So just imagine that if we don't have insulin so if we don't have insulin in our body, then our body won't be able to take this glucose out of our bloodstream, and that causes also the blood sugar eventually down the road. So this process is when it's in normality in our body. This is a process. We eat something, blood sugar goes up. Pancreas releases the insulin. Insulin goes through to the cells, open up the cells, and then cells store the excess or the glucose in our blood. And this process stays normal, and then our body stores the energy, and then we use the energy when we do daily activities. The problem happens is when our body becomes insulin resistant. So the insulin resistance is a term used when our body stops listening to our body cells, stops listening to the pancreas insulin, and they don't open up and they don't take the blood sugar out of our bloodstream for energy, and that's when things starting to go wrong. And what happens is it end up being is that our cells don't listen to insulin to take up the energy, and then our pancreas thinks that, okay, well, these cells still need energy, and our body needs energy, so it keeps producing so much insulin, and our bodies always have a higher level of insulin, and that becomes a problem in itself, and our body becomes insulin resistant, and all that energy that is just floating around in our body turns into fat, and it goes around our organs and stores as fats. So this is the main key thing that we need to understand when it comes to losing weight, is that if this process is not normal and it becomes a little complicated, and in terms of our body not handling the blood sugar properly, that then we ended up gaining weight. So the question arises that why do we become insulin resistant to begin with? And that all goes back to now the food part of it, is that initially I said that anything we eat, it will rise, the food will help rise the blood sugar in our blood. But there are some foods that do cause higher blood sugar than other foods. And if we categorize into to the three macros of the foods, which is what proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Out of those three, we probably guessed it already that the carbohydrates are the one that causes the most blood sugar spike when we consume them. So if we lower our carbohydrates in our food, then we can slow this process down, or eat food groups that they do cause blood sugar spike, but at a slower rate than some other foods that do that much quicker. Then our body will get used to it, and the food will get digested slower than the normal rate, and therefore our body will release the insulin slowly, and our cells will handle that energy much easier. And with that process, our excess energy will not get stored into fats for later use. So this is the process that we need to understand, and this is the process if we can overcome it, and if we can correct that, then we are on track of for losing weight. So I think I would just stop here for now for this video. But again, I'll repeat that the food we take in goes into our bloodstream and spikes our blood sugar, and then pancreas releases the insulin, and insulin goes to the cells, body cells, and requests them to store this glucose as the energy for later use. It just depends on what kind of a food groups that we eat that will cause this cycle to break, and in return will increase our insulin in our body, and that therefore then we'll start storing more fats than we would normally do. So we just have to understand this process, and this is the key thing in losing weight. And if we overcome this process, and if we choose wisely our food groups that will not spike our blood sugar, then we're on track losing weight. So in my next video, I'll talk about now that what kind of foods that we should avoid eating, so that we don't cause quick the insulin response, and therefore we will overcome our overweight issues. Thank you.